First contact's price. The quantum detection array at Luna Base sparked to life at exactly 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Dr. Elena Martinez watched as the impossible became reality. 15 massive vessels had appeared just beyond Mars' orbit, their energy signatures unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Her hands trembled as she initiated the first contact protocols that, until now, had only existed in theoretical exercises. Within hours, the United Earth Defense Council's chamber in Geneva was filled with the planet's highest-ranking officials. The alien vessels had maintained their position, broadcasting the simple message in perfectly synthesized English. "We come seeking dialogue." Commander David Chen, head of Earth's recently established Space Force, stood before the assembled council, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display of the alien fleet. Their technology is at least 3 centuries ahead of ours. The energy readings from a single one of their ships exceed our entire planet's power consumption. The room fell silent as the main screen activated, revealing the first visual contact with an alien species. The being that appeared was both beautiful and terrifying. A crystalline entity that seemed to float in a field of shifting colors, its form constantly rearranging itself while maintaining a vaguely humanoid shape. "I am Nexus Speaker Vix of the Galactic Federation," the entity announced, its voice resonating with harmonic overtones that made the very air vibrate. "We have observed your civilization's rapid technological advancement with great interest." President Sarah Hassan stepped forward, her voice steady despite the historical weight of the moment. "We welcome you to our solar system, Nexus Speaker. Humanity is honored to make first contact with your Federation." The crystalline being's colors shifted to deeper hues. "Your courtesy is noted, but let us dispense with diplomatic pleasantries. Our scans have detected significant deposits of quantum-resonant materials in your planet's crust. The Federation requires these resources for the greater good of galactic civilization." The council chamber erupted in whispers. These materials, rare elements that humanity had only recently begun to understand, were the cornerstone of Earth's emerging quantum technology industry. The same technology that had finally begun to solve their energy crisis and environmental challenges. "These resources are vital to our civilization's development," President Hassan responded carefully. "Surely we can discuss fair trade arrangements." The alien's form pulsed with what seemed like amusement. "You misunderstand. We are not here to negotiate. The Federation has determined that primitive species cannot be trusted with quantum-resonant materials. We will begin extraction within 1 standard rotation of your planet. Resistance would be unfortunate." Commander Chen's hand tightened on his tablet, knuckles white. The Federation's ships could indeed obliterate Earth's defenses in minutes, but there was something about their demand that didn't add up, something in the way they had perfectly prepared their communication, in the timing of their arrival just as humanity had begun to harness quantum technology. Dr. Martinez, who had been quietly analyzing data streams since the vessel's arrival, suddenly straightened in her chair. She passed a note to Commander Chen, who read it and allowed himself a slight smile. "Nexus Speaker," Chen interrupted, stepping forward. "Our sensors indicate your ships are maintaining their position using quantum lock stabilizers. Fascinating technology. Almost as fascinating as the fact that they're operating on exactly the same frequency as our planetary quantum network." The crystalline being's colors flickered momentarily, a tell that humans would come to recognize as surprise. President Hassan picked up on Chen's cue immediately. "Perhaps your Federation's determination about primitive species was premature." Dr. Martinez activated a hidden command on her tablet. Across Earth's quantum network, thousands of nodes synchronized, creating a resonance wave that rippled through space. The alien ships visibly shuddered. "Impossible." The Nexus Speaker's harmonics wavered. "Your species cannot possess such understanding of quantum mechanics." "Understanding isn't always about age or technological advancement," President Hassan replied calmly. "Sometimes it's about perspective. Humanity's greatest strength isn't in our technology, but in how we think about it. While your Federation has been using quantum-resonant materials as a power source, we've been exploring their properties as a communication medium, a way to connect and enhance rather than simply consume. The alien's crystalline form had stopped shifting, frozen in what appeared to be shock. Commander Chen stepped forward again. "We have no desire for conflict, Nexus speaker, but we will not surrender resources that are vital to our future. Perhaps instead, we could discuss a genuine cultural and technological exchange, one that might benefit both our civilizations." For several long moments, the chamber was silent. The Federation ships remained in position, but their energy signatures had changed, becoming less aggressive. Finally, the Nexus speaker's form resumed its fluid motion, colors shifting to new patterns. In 10,000 cycles of expansion, no species has ever. The alien paused, its harmonic tones recalibrating. "Your proposal has merit. The Federation's approach may require revaluation." As negotiations began in earnest, Dr. Martinez smiled to herself. Humanity's first contact had nearly become its last, but they had proven something crucial. In a universe of ancient civilizations and advanced technology, the ability to think differently might be the most powerful resource of all. The quantum detection array continued its silent vigil above Luna Base, but now it served a new purpose. Not just as an early warning system, but as a symbol of humanity's unique contribution to galactic civilization, a reminder that true advancement comes not from power or age, but from the courage to imagine things differently. The silent defense. In the 3 months since first contact, Earth had changed. The skies above every major city now shimmered with quantum resonance fields, their iridescent patterns a constant reminder of humanity's new reality. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, Dr. Elena Martinez stood before a wall of holographic displays, watching as data streamed in from quantum monitoring stations around the globe. The Federation's observers are requesting another demonstration, Commander Chen announced as he entered the facility, his footsteps echoing through the cavernous command center. "They're still trying to understand how we achieved quantum harmonics without their superior technology." Elena smiled without looking away from her displays. "And we're still trying to understand why an advanced civilization would waste quantum-resonant materials as mere fuel when they can do so much more." She gestured to a particular data stream, where complex patterns danced across the screen. "Look at this. Their ship's quantum signatures are like brute force hammers. Ours are more like orchestral compositions." The facility, known officially as Project Harmony, but nicknamed the Hive by its staff, represented humanity's greatest technological achievement. While the Federation had spent millennia developing weapons and power systems, Earth's scientists had taken a fundamentally different approach to quantum mechanics, treating it as a medium for connection rather than consumption. "The Federation Council is getting nervous," Chen said, his voice lower now. "Our latest satellite data shows increased fleet movement near their core systems. Some of their member species are beginning to question centuries of technological orthodoxy." Elena finally turned from her displays. "They should be nervous. We've proved their entire approach to quantum physics is fundamentally limited, but that's not what really scares them, is it?" Chen shook his head. "No. What scares them is that we're sharing our discoveries with their younger member species, the ones they've kept dependent on Federation technology for generations." A soft chime interrupted their conversation. One of the quantum sensors had detected an anomaly, a subtle shift in the background resonance of space itself. Elena's fingers flew across her holographic interface, bringing up detailed readings. "David," she said, using the commander's first name for the first time in years, "I think we found something they've been hiding." The main display filled with a complex web of quantum signatures, spreading out across the galaxy like a vast neural network. But unlike the natural quantum fields they had been studying, these were artificial, carefully hidden beneath layers of distortion. "It's a control network," Elena breathed, her eyes wide with realization. "The Federation isn't just supplying quantum technology to their member species, they're using it to monitor and influence them. Every ship, Every power core, every piece of Federation technology is part of a vast surveillance system. Chen's face hardened. Can you prove it? Elena nodded slowly. Better than that. I can show every member species how to detect it themselves. Our approach to quantum harmonics doesn't just make their control network visible. It provides a way to shield against it. The commander was silent for a long moment, considering the implications. The Federation's 1,000-year dominance wasn't just built on technological superiority. It was built on invisible chains of control wrapped around every civilization that joined them. How long have you known this was possible? He asked finally. Elena's hands clenched slightly. I suspected something when we first detected their ships. Their quantum signatures were too uniform, too controlled. But I needed proof before making accusations that could spark an interstellar incident. A new alert flashed across the screens. More Federation ships entering the solar system. But these weren't the massive vessels from first contact. These were smaller, faster ships that Elena recognized from their database as belonging to some of the Federation's younger member species. They're not here on Federation orders, Chen realized, reading the irregular patterns in their approach vectors. They're defecting. Elena quickly confirmed his assessment. The arriving ships were broadcasting on frequencies outside the Federation's control network, using variations of Earth's quantum harmonics protocols. They were ships from species that had begun experimenting with humanity's approach to quantum physics, breaking free from centuries of technological dependence. We need to notify the Council, Chen said, already moving toward the communication station. This could either be the beginning of a revolution or the spark that ignites a war. Elena turned back to her displays, fingers dancing across the interface as she prepared to extend Earth's quantum defense network to protect the arriving ships. Maybe it's both, she said quietly. The Federation built their power on control and dependence. We built ours on understanding and sharing. They never considered that their greatest weapon might become their greatest vulnerability. As the defector ships approached Earth orbit, Elena couldn't help but smile. The Federation had arrived 3 months ago, expecting to find a primitive species they could easily dominate. Instead, they had found humanity, a young civilization that had looked at the fundamental forces of the universe and seen not just power, but possibility. The quantum fields above Earth shimmered more brightly now, welcoming the arriving ships into their protective embrace. In the depths of the Himalayan facility, humanity's greatest scientific achievement continued its work, not as a weapon or a power source, but as a beacon of hope for species across the galaxy who were ready to think differently about their place in the universe. Operation Stardust. The Federation's response came at dawn. 500 ships dropped out of quantum space simultaneously, their massive forms blotting out the stars above Earth. Unlike the diplomatic vessels from first contact, these were warships, ancient behemoths that had enforced the Federation's will for millennia. In the hive, alarms blared as quantum sensors detected the massive disturbance. Dr. Elena Martinez didn't need the alerts to know what was happening. She had been expecting this moment since the first defector ships arrived 3 weeks ago. Status report. Commander Chen's voice came through the quantum comm network, calm despite the circumstances. He was aboard humanity's first quantum-enhanced vessel, the Terra Dawn, coordinating with the fleet of defector ships that had sought refuge in Earth's orbit. Federation quantum signatures are off the charts, Elena reported, her fingers flying across multiple interfaces. They're trying to overwhelm our detection grid with raw power. But they still don't understand what they're dealing with. Above Earth, the Federation fleet moved into attack formation. Their command ship, a massive crystalline structure that dwarfed its escorts, broadcast on all frequencies. This is High Marshal Kiz of the Federation Enforcement Division. Your interference in Federation affairs ends now. Surrender your quantum technology and the defector vessels, or face immediate destruction. President Hassan's response was broadcast from a secure bunker beneath Geneva. High Marshal, we urge you to reconsider. Your own member species are choosing to leave because they've discovered your deception. This doesn't have to end in conflict. Choices. The High Marshal's voice crackled with artificial harmonics. Lesser species don't make choices. They follow the path the Federation sets for them. That is how we maintain order. That is how we prevent the chaos that primitive impulses would unleash across the galaxy. In the hive, Elena watched as Federation energy readings spiked. They were preparing to fire, not just at Earth's defenses, but at the defector ships as well. But she had been preparing for this moment, studying Federation quantum signatures, understanding their fundamental flaws. "Commander," she called over the quantum link, "Operation Stardust is ready." Chen's reply was immediate. "Do it." Elena took a deep breath and activated the protocol she had spent weeks perfecting. Across Earth's quantum network, thousands of nodes began pulsing in perfect harmony. But unlike the Federation's brute force approach to quantum energy, this was something entirely new. A resonance pattern that worked with the natural quantum fields of space itself. The effect was immediate and stunning. As the Federation ships fired their weapons, the energy beams disappeared into what seemed like tears in space itself. The quantum disruption spread through their fleet like a wave, causing ships to flicker and drift as their power systems encountered frequencies they had never been designed to handle. Impossible. The High Marshal's voice had lost its artificial harmony. "What have you done?" Elena allowed herself a small smile as she monitored the cascade of effects. "We didn't just study your quantum technology, High Marshal. We studied the quantum nature of space itself. Your ships are powerful, but they fight against the natural resonance of the universe. Ours work with it." The Federation fleet's formation began to break as more ships lost power. Their quantum-based systems, designed to dominate natural forces, were being undone by those very forces, amplified and directed by humanity's understanding of universal harmony. "This is your final warning." President Hassan's voice was firm. "Withdraw your fleet and recognize the sovereignty of all species who choose to leave the Federation, or watch as your own technology continues to fail you." In the chaos above Earth, something remarkable was happening. The defector ships, using modified versions of humanity's quantum harmonics, were completely unaffected by the disruption. They moved through the disabled Federation fleet with precision, offering assistance to crews whose life support systems were failing. "The Federation Council will never accept this," the High Marshal snarled, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. "Our authority must be absolute." "Your authority was based on keeping others dependent and ignorant," Commander Chen replied. "But you can't control knowledge once it's shared. Every species you subjugated now has access to our understanding of quantum physics. They can see the control networks you built into their technology. The choice to stay or leave is theirs." Elena watched as more Federation ships began powering down, their crews choosing survival over a dying ideology. The quantum disruption had revealed the truth. The Federation's technological supremacy was built on an incomplete understanding of the forces they claimed to master. "The Federation will adapt," she said softly, though only those in the hive could hear her. "They'll have to. Because we're not just sharing technology. We're sharing a different way of thinking about the universe itself." As the Federation fleet retreated, leaving behind those ships whose crews had chosen to defect, Earth's quantum field stabilized into new patterns. The defector ships, representing dozens of species, moved into synchronized orbits, their quantum signatures harmonizing with Earth's protection grid. Humanity had faced its first major interstellar crisis, not through superior firepower, but through superior understanding. They had proven that true power comes not from dominating natural forces, but from learning to work in harmony with them. In the hive, Elena began receiving transmissions from across the galaxy, more species discovering the truth about Federation technology, more civilizations learning to see quantum physics through human eyes. The revolution wouldn't be fought with weapons, but with knowledge. And knowledge, once shared, could never be contained. The breaking point. The quantum map room in the hive had become a testament to change. Holographic stars filled the chamber, with streams of data flowing between them like luminous rivers. Each pulse of light represented another species breaking free from Federation control, another civilization discovering the true nature of quantum physics. Dr. Elena Martinez stood in the center of the galaxy, or at least its holographic representation, watching as another cluster of systems shifted from Federation red to independent blue. 6 months had passed since Operation Stardust, and the Federation's grip on the galaxy was unraveling faster than anyone had predicted. The Arxer Collective just declared independence, Commander Chen announced as he entered the room, his uniform bearing new insignia that marked him as Earth's representative to the emerging alliance of free species. That makes 17 major civilizations in the past month alone. Elena nodded, her eyes tracking patterns in the quantum data streams. The Federation's trying to adapt their technology, but they don't understand the fundamental principle. You can't force quantum harmonics to obey you. You have to work with the natural resonance of space itself. But something was bothering her. The Federation's response to this cascade of defections had been surprisingly muted. After their failed attack on Earth, they had withdrawn their forces to their core systems, maintaining an ominous silence even as their empire crumbled. "David," she said, pointing to a particular data stream, "look at these readings from the Federation core worlds. The quantum signatures are different, more complex than anything we've seen before." Chen moved closer, his expression darkening as he studied the data. Could they have developed new technology? No. Elena shook her head. These patterns are old. Very old, I think. She paused, running calculations through her quantum interface. I think we're seeing what they've been hiding for thousands of years. The holographic display zoomed in on the Federation's home systems, revealing a massive network of quantum energy that dwarfed anything they had encountered before. It was like a vast web, pulsing with power that seemed to draw strength from the very fabric of space-time. They're not just using quantum-resonant materials for technology. Elena breathed, her eyes wide with realization. They're using them to manipulate reality itself. The Federation's core worlds exist in a partially altered state of quantum coherence. Before Chen could respond, a priority alert flashed across their screens. A transmission was breaking through on frequencies they had never seen before, using quantum harmonics that shouldn't have been possible. The holographic stars flickered and were replaced by a sight that made Elena's blood run cold. The being that appeared was not like the crystalline forms they had come to know. It was something else. A consciousness existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously, its very presence causing ripples in the fabric of reality. "I am the first voice," it announced, its words seeming to echo through quantum space itself. "What you have discovered is but a shadow of true power. The Federation was created to prepare the galaxy for ascension. Those species who prove worthy would have eventually been allowed to join us in quantum transcendence." Transcendence. Shen's voice was steady, but Elena could see his hands clenched at his sides. "You mean surrendering your physical form to become whatever you are?" "To become gods," the first voice replied. "We achieved this state eons ago, learning to exist as beings of pure quantum energy. The Federation was our instrument, guiding species toward enlightenment through carefully controlled evolution." Elena's mind raced as she processed the implications. The control network, the restricted technology. It wasn't just about power. You were conducting a galaxy-wide experiment, testing which species would develop along the paths you chose. And humanity has disrupted centuries of careful preparation. The first voice's tone held something like anger now. Your quantum harmonics technology spreads like a virus, teaching species to think in ways that make them unsuitable for ascension. This cannot continue. The quantum readings from the Federation core worlds began to spike dramatically. Elena watched in horror as the massive energy web began to pulse with new patterns that threatened to tear apart the very quantum fields they had learned to work with. "You're willing to destroy everything," Chen demanded, "just because we found a different path." "We are willing to reset the experiment," the first voice corrected. "Your species has proven that our methods must become more direct. The galaxy will be cleansed, and we will begin again with stricter controls. In the Hive's quantum map room, alarms began blaring as the Federation's weapon reached out across space. Wherever it touched, quantum fields began to destabilize. Ships lost power, communications went dark, and entire planetary defense systems started to fail. But Elena was already moving, her fingers flying across quantum interfaces as she attempted to understand what they were facing. The Federation's ascended beings might have power beyond imagination, but they still operated according to the fundamental laws of quantum physics, laws that humanity had learned to see in a completely new way. "Commander," she said, her voice tight with concentration, "I need you to get a message to every allied species. Tell them to recalibrate their quantum harmonics to match the pattern I'm sending. The Federation thinks they can control reality because they've forgotten something crucial about quantum mechanics." "What's that?" Chen asked as he relayed her instructions. Elena allowed herself a grim smile as she watched her calculations take shape. That the observer affects the observed. And right now, there are trillions of observers across the galaxy who believe in a different kind of reality than the one the Federation is trying to impose. The battle for the galaxy's future was about to enter its final phase, and humanity's greatest test would not be one of technology or power, but of understanding. The Federation's ascended beings had spent eons trying to control quantum reality. Now they would learn what happens when reality begins to fight back. Legacy of Terra. The galaxy was screaming. There was no other way to describe the cascading waves of quantum disruption that rippled through space-time as the Federation's ascended beings launched their assault on reality itself. From the Hive's quantum map room, Dr. Elena Martinez watched as entire sectors of space flickered and distorted under the onslaught. But humanity wasn't facing this crisis alone. Across the galaxy, thousands of civilizations were implementing Elena's quantum harmonics protocol, creating a network of conscious observation that grew stronger with each passing moment. The very thing that made humans primitive in the Federation's eyes, their connection to physical reality, had become their greatest strength. The Arxer Collective reports successful synchronization. Commander Chen announced, his voice steady despite the chaos displayed on their screens. The Zethtul Unity and Meridian worlds are following suit. We're approaching critical mass for quantum field stabilization. Elena nodded, her fingers dancing across multiple interfaces as she fine-tuned the harmonic frequencies. The Federation's beings exist in a state of quantum supremacy. They think they can impose their will on reality because they've transcended physical form. But they've forgotten something fundamental about quantum mechanics. Reality requires observers, Chen finished. He had learned more about quantum physics in the past 6 months than he had in his entire military career. The first voice manifested again in their quantum communications, its presence causing local reality to shiver. Your resistance is futile. We have spent eons perfecting our control over quantum fields. You cannot hope to match our power. We don't need to match it, Elena replied, her voice firm. We just need to remind the universe of its own laws. She activated the final phase of her protocol, sending new instructions to their allies across the galaxy. Every quantum-capable species is now acting as a conscious observer of baseline reality. We're not fighting your quantum manipulation. We're simply observing reality as it should be. The effect was subtle at first. The Federation's reality-warping attacks began to lose coherence, their attempts to reshape space-time meeting resistance from trillions of minds all observing, all believing in, the fundamental nature of space itself. Impossible. The first voice's manifestation flickered. You cannot overcome quantum supremacy with mere observation. That's where you're wrong, Elena said, watching as more and more of normal space stabilized. Quantum mechanics isn't about supremacy. It's about interconnection. Every particle, every field, every piece of reality is connected. You tried to place yourselves above that connection, to rule it. We chose to become part of it. Across the galaxy, the combined quantum observation of dozens of species was creating something unprecedented, a stabilized field of consensual reality that the Federation's ascended beings couldn't override. Their power was vast, but it relied on imposing their will upon an uncaring universe. Humanity had shown the galaxy a different way, working with the universe's fundamental nature rather than against it. In the quantum map room, Alina and Chen watched as the Federation's attack faltered. The ascended beings' attempt to reset the galaxy had failed, thwarted not by superior technology or greater power, but by the combined consciousness of species who chose to embrace their connection to physical reality rather than transcend it. You would condemn the galaxy to remain trapped in physical form, the first voice accused, its manifestation growing weaker. Deny them the path to godhood. We're offering them a choice, Commander Chen replied. Something you never did. Every species can now decide their own path of development, their own relationship with quantum physics and reality itself. The Federation's quantum surge was collapsing now, their carefully maintained reality warping fields unraveling as more and more of the galaxy's species joined the harmonic network. The ascended beings found themselves unable to impose their will on a universe that was being actively observed and affirmed by countless conscious minds. Your era of control is over, Alina said quietly, watching as the last of the Federation's reality distortions faded. But you don't have to end with it. Join us in exploring what quantum physics can truly offer when we work with it rather than try to dominate it. The first voice was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its tone had changed. In all our eons of existence, we never considered, never imagined that primitive physical beings could understand quantum reality so fundamentally. Perhaps there is something we have forgotten in our quest for transcendence. As the crisis subsided, Alina looked at the quantum map of the galaxy with new eyes. The Federation's ascended beings had retreated to their core systems, their power diminished but not destroyed. But the galaxy they had sought to control had changed forever. Humanity's understanding of quantum harmony had sparked not just a technological revolution, but a philosophical one. What now? Chen asked, watching as new quantum communication links formed between formerly isolated species. Alina smiled, seeing the patterns of cooperation and mutual discovery spreading across the stars. Now we do what humanity does best. We explore, we learn, and we grow. But we do it together, as part of the universe rather than trying to rule it. The quantum fields above Earth shimmered with new energy as ships from dozens of species arrived, eager to share knowledge and discover new ways of understanding the quantum nature of reality. Humanity had given the galaxy more than just technology. They had shown that true advancement comes not from dominating the forces of nature, but from learning to dance with them. In the end, it wasn't humanity's power that had changed the galaxy, but their perspective. They had looked at the fundamental forces of the universe, not as tools to be controlled or transcended, but as partners in the grand dance of existence. And in doing so, they had written a new chapter in the story of consciousness itself, one where the journey of discovery meant more than the destination of godhood.